I'm Sheila Sage. Welcome to our Early Years Workshop. I'd like to introduce you to my colleagues. Jed Cotton, who's the head teacher of an infant school in Hove, to Diane Rich, who's an early years consultant, and Julie Thomas, who's an accredited childminder. And we've seen your bus journey. It was absolutely delightful.
Yes, thank you.
And you obviously had to do a lot of planning for that.
Yes,
Tell
I
us about
did.
that.
We go out and about quite a lot as a childminder. Obviously, it's easy to do, down to the shops or the park, and buses pass us a lot. And obviously, they are very interested in them. So I felt that that was a good starting point, really, and needed to build that into my planning.
Shall we watch that little bit of video?
Yeah. I wanted to see what they actually got out of the journey going on the bus and what they actually took in.
Right, and what sort of things do you think you could do?
Well, I thought one way of extending it was possibly for them to engage in imaginative and role play.
And you could do a craft activity, and that could be big boxes and for them to make a bus or whatever.
Right,
so that's to extend that. You can observe the children then, how they've used that experience of going out with a bus. They're role
Yeah,
playing,
that's a really good idea. That right, a large box.
Jeb, we know that planning's important, but how do we feature the children in this?
Well, I think what was really nice to see was in that planning episode, the children were the focus of the planning. You'd obviously observed, you knew them well, and you'd picked up a sense of their interests. And then you were looking through the stepping stones to see where their interests could also give you opportunities to give them a range of experiences within the curriculum.
But have we done people a disservice, Diane, sometimes by expecting them to plan everything out of existence?
Well, I think the starting point for any planning has to be exactly what Julie did, and that is the children. It was that spark of, ooh, they're interested in this. How can I take it on? How can I develop them? It's
planning derived from children, not children fitted into the template of early learning goals and stepping stones. And I think that that's sometimes where people do feel sort of straitjacketed and squashed into a model that is not appropriate for the needs of very young children.
Absolutely. But with all of that planning, you need to still have the resources, the free resources that you had out in the garden. Let's look at those. I expect, Diane, you were really pleased to see they were outside.
Certainly. I think you probably find, Julie, that outside is where your boys really like to be, and it's nice to see those activities outside, and nice to see you've anticipated some of the play that might be spun off from their first-hand experience of the bus ride.
I mean, what I particularly liked about the range of things that you put outside was that not only would the children have a chance to build on the actual experience of the bus journey, but they could also use things and part of the different provision you made to extend other provisions. So they could, if they wanted to make a vehicle with the stickle bricks, they could take it to the road map. They might take it to the painting area and actually want of their own bat to paint a picture of it. And I think that sort of linkage or opportunities for linkage across a range of resources is really powerful.
And what's nice is that within the resources you've put out, there's a lot of flexibility for those children. You're not directing them and saying you have got to make a bus or you've got to paint a bus or make bus tickets. They could paint anything they want. They could build anything they want. They could go to any space in the garden that they want. So you're supporting them, but not directing them. I think that's good.
But I think the bus was so important to them, wasn't it? Let's go on the bus journey with them.
Noise? Did you hear the bell? What does that mean when the bell rings?
We need to stop.
We need to stop, don't we? That means somebody needs to get off.
Yeah, that... Oh, another
Did you hear it? Another bell?
bell.
Do you know what this is in the middle of the road here, what it's called?
Roundabout.
A roundabout.
Yeah, it's got
And we've got
arrows.
to go round it, haven't we?
Yeah. A big
Oh.
bus.
A big bus. But that one looks like our bus, doesn't it?
Yeah, 'cause it's got stairs on it, I think.
Do you think that one's got stairs on it?
Yeah.
Has that one got an upstairs to it?
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause it's got top windows and bottom windows.
Well done. It's got windows at the top and it's got windows at the bottom.
There's a fire ranger.
Whoa! Did you
I
see
got
that?
a fire ranger.
Have you? Oh, what's
Oh,
in
there's the police car.
Oh, we've seen a fire engine and now the police car.
And Mum's got a bus.
Wow.
And how many buses? Yeah, it's like cars.
It is like ours.
Yeah, that's why I
A little bus. There's a big bus and a little bus.
Yeah, 'cause that's called a mini bus or like a bus. Do you see the cinema?
Oh, that is the cinema. Well done. Would you like to take a picture of it for me? Right.
Wasn't that great? And Jed, you were itching to be on that bus, I could tell.
Well, absolutely. I mean, for me, it just screams the power of first-hand relevant experience and all the learning that you can have just through conversation. I mean, the children actually were incredibly knowledgeable. They were just throwing out what they knew about the world around them all the time, and they were just stimulated by all the different things they saw, and it was great. I would have liked to have been there.
Did they surprise you with some of the things that they came up with?
They did surprise me because I'd planned for them obviously to have the experience of the bus, but actually I wanted them to note key features along the route. That was what my
Yes.
planning was. But what
Yes.
actually came out of it was just so amazing, that on times it was nice just to sit back and watch and observe them and the language that they used and what they actually visualised themselves was
Yes.
just wonderful.
What did you think, Diane, about when they noticed the cinema and the IT that they used?
Well, I mean, for me, it just emphasised your passion for taking the children's interests. I mean, initially we know that the bus ride came about because the boys were interested in buses. But then on the way, they were pointing things out. And when the child said, oh, there's a cinema, you picked up on it and let him take a picture. Some children would have had throwaway cameras and will be quite familiar with taking pictures, but when you're introducing that to children, you've got to encourage them and remind them, hang on, you can choose, this is for you to decide what you take pictures of, and you picked up on his interest and encouraged him to take his own picture.
I felt that I wanted to see whether they could actually recall it from memory when we got back. So that was another way of being able to use the camera to record the features along the route.
Lovely thing to do, to sequence their journey
Yes.
and turn it into a book or whatever, or a timeline. Wonderful.
Let's see what happened to them when they got off the bus.
There's lots of numbers on here. Do you know what these are?
Yeah.
These are the times of the buses. So
Yeah.
can't see where our bus is because we had a 3 and a 7 and a 7 on our bus, didn't we?
Yeah, but no.
Oh look, a 3 and a 7 and a 7.
Yeah, big one on that
That
one.
was our bus, wasn't it?
Yeah, look.
Shall we stand here and see if we can see some buses coming? Riley, what numbers are on those buses there? There's a 1 and a 0 and a number 4
And the number 8.
and an X on it as well.
All that mathematical language in such a rich learning experience.
And I think really it's nice to see them using number in context,
Yes.
authentic use of number. And they demonstrate quite clearly they can recognise 1, they can recognise 0, they can recognise 4. There's a purpose to those numbers. And that's very motivating to actually go on and be learners and learn about numbers. They are getting to sense what it's all about, why it's important to them. And what I really like is when he said X, you didn't correct it. You didn't say, no, that's actually not a number. You just repeated it but didn't preface it with the word number. I think that's very nice.
because it's a pattern, isn't it?
It is a pattern, yes.
And how did the children take that on when you got back?
The children were very, very excited, and especially when they actually saw the photographs that they'd taken on the journey, and were actually able to sequence them into order. And I then wanted to extend that into their creative development through role play, and to introduce a large box that maybe they would have liked to have turned into a bus.
Let's watch it.
Oh, well done. We did, didn't we? We saw Tesco's. That's where Riley goes shopping with his dad. Then what did we see? What do you think that big box could be?
A bus.
Do you think it could be a bus? Oh, do you think we could make it look like a bus?
Yeah.
Shall we go and have a look? Right. What about the number?
Yeah,
What number do I need to put on here?
3 and a 7 and a 7. I want to go to the cinema, please.
Could the children have played like that if they hadn't been on the bus?
No, I doubt it. What they'd learned from that experience was they kind of understood a bit more about the world of buses. Before, especially Tom, who'd never been on a bus, only would have known that buses go along the road. But now he knows what it's physically like in a bus, so they can physically make one. He knows about the people in buses. He knows that buses go from a place and to another place, and that the 377 has a particular route. It includes the cinema. And you heard them ask to go to the cinema. They knew that bit about their world. Wonderful experience. First-hand experience. They can only do the incredible if they've had the experience on which to base their playing.
I think what they've had is an emotional experience. And I think it's that emotional experience that's given them that opportunity to play so richly, don't you think?
Yes, and just the joy of those numbers, the way they remembered the numbers, because it was relevant to them. It was very, very pertinent to a recent experience they'd had, and the numbers were alive because that was the number of their particular bus.
Diane, what, for you, are the key learning experiences through that film?
Well, I think the key learning experiences for practitioners watching this are that it's important to tune into children and what their interests are and really build on that and let that inform your planning, which is exactly what you've done, Julie. That the experiences we give children should be first-hand experiences, and then from those first-hand experiences, the curriculum really becomes very rich for them, and what they can do is really wonderful as a result, as we've seen.
Thank you, Diane. I hope we've given you lots of food for thought to use back in your settings. I'd like to thank the panel members, and especially to you, Julie Thomas, for letting us go on that wonderful journey with you. Please join us next time on Early Years Workshop. But for now, goodbye.